I never believed in silence until I heard it speak louder than screams. The afternoon sun sliced across polished hardwood as I stood near the edge of our kitchen island, heart pulsing like a trapped drum. Our home, once the sanctuary of devotion, laughter, memories, now held tension so thick it strangled air. His bowl sat there, ceramic chipped, oatmeal congealed, spoon untouched. Just like our marriage, undisturbed, cold, decorative. Graham, my husband of 13 years, sat across me, scrolling through his tablet. His fingers danced, detached. His jaw clenched. His affection? Vanished. I wore red. Not for him. For me. Earlier, I discovered something. A revelation tucked within velvet boxes inside the walk-in safe I'd trusted with my soul. My jewelry was missing. Not all of it, just the most expensive pieces. Emerald bracelet from my grandmother. Diamond-studded choker Graham gifted on our 9th anniversary. 2 platinum bangles worth more than my car. Vanished. My instincts pointed at her. Sasha. My sister-in-law. Graham's younger, glittery sibling who had moved into our guest house 4 months prior after a breakup, with some artist nobody ever met. A woman who hugged too long, laughed too loud, and looked at my husband as if he was a god draped in flannel. I had my doubts from the moment she moved in with boxes labeled fragile, and a perfume so strong it stayed even after she left the room. Her eyes lingered on my closet. Her compliments always felt too sweet. Like poisoned honey. I went back upstairs into the closet, checked again. The locked drawer was unlatched. My collection box sat slightly ajar, and behind the velvet lining, gone. Nothing. No trace. Except fingerprints. Not literal ones. The kind you feel when your life's been touched by a hand you didn't invite. I confronted her casually. Hey, Sasha, seen my emerald bracelet? Her smile flickered like a dying light bulb. Haven't been near your things. Still unpacking my own chaos. She giggled, sipped rose, curled on the couch like a cat basking in sunlight. But I wasn't convinced. I needed proof. That night, I pretended to sleep. Graham, exhausted from meetings, passed out immediately. I waited. 2 a.m. blinked red across the digital clock. I crept downstairs. Her guest house door was unlocked. Inside, incense smoke danced through the air. Her speakers played soft jazz. And there, on her vanity, beneath layers of makeup palettes, glittered something unmistakable. My diamond choker. Tangled in her hairbrush. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply walked back, heart burning. Next morning, I told Graham. I think Sasha's stealing. He looked at me like I'd just slapped his mother. She wouldn't. She has. My jewelry's in her room. You're imagining it. Maybe you misplaced it. His words gutted me. I didn't recognize him anymore. Hours passed. Arguments flared. My voice rose. His anger exploded. And then it happened. A bowl. Ceramic. Heavy. It flew from his hand. Smashed against the side of my skull. White light. Blood. Shattered silence. But even in pain, I didn't cry. I looked at him, dazed, betrayed. And then I ran. Not away from the house, but into my son's room. Because I needed a witness. Someone I knew loved me. And there he was. Tyler. 14. Bright. Observant. More man than child, more gentle than his father had ever been. He stared at my bleeding temple, horror in his young eyes. Mom? What happened? I couldn't lie. Your dad lost his temper. His fists clenched. Not in anger, but resolve. He took my hand. Let's get out of here. But I couldn't. Not yet. Because the worst part of betrayal isn't the moment it happens, it's the unraveling of every moment before. Every time I trusted Graham. Every laugh shared with Sasha. Every gift. Every kiss. It all became a lie the moment my blood hit the floor. I stayed up that night, wrapping a towel around my head, trying to keep the pounding from swallowing my thoughts. Graham slept elsewhere. Maybe Sasha's room. I didn't check. Instead, I plotted. I'd loved him once. Fiercely. Stupidly. The way you love when you don't think pain is coming. But that was gone now. So I watched. Waited. And in my waiting, I noticed something else. Tyler began staying near me constantly. Protective. Watching Sasha too. Not with teenage curiosity, but with purpose. Something was shifting in him. The way he looked at his father changed. There was distance now. My son, my baby, was becoming my shield. And I hated that I needed him to be. A week passed before I confronted Sasha directly. I want everything back. Now. She blinked, fake innocence painted across her face. Back. My jewelry. My trust. My peace. She leaned in, whispering, as if confessing a sin to a priest. You lost those things long before I arrived. I saw it then. She wanted what I had. My house. My husband. My life. And for a terrifying moment I realized she might already have some of it. So I went to the one person who would always tell me the truth. My son. Tyler. Have you seen anything strange? He hesitated. Looked down. Then nodded. Dad's not where he says he is. At night. Where is he? His voice broke. With her. I've heard things. I knew what he meant. Things no son should hear. Sounds that belong to a hotel room, not our guest house. Gasping. Moaning. Names whispered in the dark. I vomited in the bathroom after he left. Not from sickness. From heartbreak. Graham hadn't just failed me as a husband. He'd shattered the image my son held of him. That was the real violence. And Sasha? She wasn't just a thief. She was a virus, infecting every crevice of our lives. But I wasn't done yet. If she thought she could steal my husband, my jewelry, my peace, I'd take something from her too. Her dignity. Her secret. Her lies. One by one. I didn't cry the night I found out they'd been sleeping together. There weren't any sobs, no screams, no shattered glass. Just stillness. A silence so absolute, even the wind outside felt like it held its breath. I sat on the cold tile floor of the upstairs bathroom, knees pulled to my chest, watching a drop of blood trace its way down my leg from where the towel scratched too roughly. That bowl left more than a cut, it cracked something deeper. Something I hadn't touched in years. Pride. Dignity. Womanhood. Sasha didn't just steal jewels, she stole power. The subtle kind. The type you don't notice until it's gone. The ability to walk into a room and know it belongs to you. I'd let her in. I opened our doors, our fridge, our spare bedroom. And in return, she opened her legs to my husband. But here's the thing about thieves. They always think they're cleverer than they are. And Sasha? She forgot whose story this was. The next morning, I wore white. Clean. Sharp. The kind of white that says I am untouched, unbothered, reborn. Graham avoided eye contact over breakfast, his silence louder than gunfire. Tyler sat beside me, eyes flicking between us, unspoken rage radiating off his body. Sasha strolled in 15 minutes late, hair wet, robe slightly open. A performance. She poured coffee. Slept like a rock. Weird dreams, though. Kept hearing footsteps outside my window. I smiled. Maybe your conscience finally woke up. She chuckled, lips curling with something sinister. Graham shifted in his chair, but still said nothing. Coward. After breakfast, I followed her outside. The garden behind the guest house still smelled like rain. She bent to pluck dying lavender, pretending not to notice me until I was close enough to smell her perfume, something floral, sharp, almost metallic. Sasha, I said. Let's not play anymore. She stood, twirled the sprig between her fingers. I'm not playing. You lost. You just don't know the score. That was her mistake, thinking I was still on defense. You know, I whispered, stepping closer, I didn't tell Graham everything. Like how I found your little USB drive. The one with the videos. Her eyes froze. It was a lie. I hadn't found anything, yet. But fear is a powerful motivator. And her expression told me there was something to find. I walked away without another word, leaving her standing in soil with trembling fingers and dirt-streaked thighs. That night, I searched. While Sasha flirted over wine and Graham pretended not to notice, I snuck into the guest house with gloves and purpose. Her room smelled like coconut oil and sin. I opened drawers, lifted cushions, scanned every corner. Then, bingo! A second phone, hidden behind a stack of old sketchbooks. Password protected. I took it. Back in my bedroom, I waited until the house was silent. Then I handed it to Tyler. I need you to crack this. He didn't ask questions. He simply nodded and disappeared into his room. At 3:47 a.m., he returned. Unlocked. I didn't expect what I saw. Photos, videos, text, dozens. She'd been documenting everything. Every touch, every kiss, every degrading moment she shared with my husband. And not just him. There were others. Men. Women. People I recognized from our circle. Powerful people. She was blackmailing them. Collecting insurance. Building a kingdom on secret. And Graham, he wasn't just cheating. He was a pawn in something far uglier. Tyler stood beside me, face pale, mouth set in a hard line. I can wipe it all, he offered. Or copy it. Copy it. Now I had her weapon. And hers wasn't the only game in town. A few days later, I arranged a dinner. Candles, steak, wine. Music soft enough to hear hearts beat through fabric. Graham was suspicious. Sasha wore red. Tyler watched, silent. I served his favorite dish, steak au poivre, peppercorn sauce, roasted potatoes with rosemary. Everyone ate. Conversation was fake, smiles painted. Then I dropped the first bomb. I've been seeing someone. Forks paused midair. Graham swallowed. What? I met someone. A few weeks ago. Just coffee at first. But it's become more. A lie, of course, but believable enough to twist his gut. Sasha's eyes lit up, interested. Not angry, excited. Like a predator sensing new blood. Anyone we know? She asked, voice syrupy. Maybe. Tyler stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Proud. Confused. Odd. I smiled. He's younger. Kind. Makes me feel seen. Sasha blinked. Her game was slipping. This wasn't the narrative she'd expected. She'd imagined me broken, weeping, begging. But I was rewriting the rules. And then Graham exploded. You're cheating. The hypocrisy stung the air like static. I leaned back, cool as frost. You really want to have that conversation? His face turned red. Sasha stood abruptly, knocking over her glass. Tyler didn't move. And that's when I dropped the second bomb. I found your little archive, Sasha. The one with you and all your friends. She froze. I continued. You've got quite the collection. State senators, a CEO, 2 judges. Oh, and my husband. You're a very busy girl. Graham turned to her, stunned. What the hell is she talking about? But Sasha said nothing. Just sat slowly, fingers shaking, eyes flicking to the back door. She was thinking about running. I reached into my bag and dropped the flash drive onto the table. It landed with a soft thud that felt louder than any scream. I've already made copies, I said. And unless you return everything you took, disappear, and never contact any of us again, I'll go public. Sasha's jaw tightened. You'd ruin yourself too. I shrugged. I don't care anymore. Because when someone breaks your soul, you stop fearing consequences. You start craving justice, even if it burns everything down. That night, she left. No goodbye. No bags. Just vanished into the dark like a ghost. But Graham? He stayed. He tried to apologize. Swore it was a mistake. Said he was weak. Drunk. Manipulated. I listened. And then I laughed. Not bitterly. But with the kind of laugh that says you don't matter anymore. Because he didn't. He begged to fix things. To try again. Therapy. Counseling. Church. But love is a delicate creature. Once it's gutted, it doesn't crawl back. It dies quietly in the space between betrayal and realization. And me? I started breathing again. But the story wasn't over. Because Tyler had changed. He was no longer just my son. He was a witness, a protector, and as I healed, I began to notice something unsettling in his eyes. A kind of possessiveness, like he wasn't just watching over me. He was watching me. The way his gaze lingered. The way he touched my shoulder. The way his room, once littered with boyish chaos, now smelled like my perfume. It wasn't just a mother-son bond anymore. Something else was growing there. Something I wasn't ready to name, yet. I started locking my bedroom door. Not because I was scared. Because I wasn't sure anymore who I was protecting from whom. The lock clicked like a punctuation mark every night, a quiet decision that screamed louder than words. I'd lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, tracing invisible cracks across plaster, wondering how many more fractures the walls could hide before they finally split. I didn't sleep well anymore. But I wasn't afraid. Just alert. Always alert. Tyler had changed since Sasha left. Not overnight. Not like a switch. It was slower, like fog rolling across the sea, quiet, inevitable. His footsteps started appearing at my door past midnight. Sometimes they paused. Sometimes they turned around. Once, I caught his shadow beneath the slit of light on the hallway floor. Standing. Breathing. Listening. He didn't knock. Neither did I. The next morning, he'd be normal again. Helpful. Calm. Loving. Maybe too loving. He started bringing me coffee in bed. Made me breakfast like I was the one who needed taking care of. He watched for Graham's car in the driveway, waited until his father disappeared into the garage or out to play golf, then returned to me with silence in his eyes and softness in his voice. Need anything, Mom? No one said Mom, that tenderly. And then he stopped saying it altogether. One afternoon, I was in the garden trimming dead peonies when he walked up behind me. Quiet as a breeze. I didn't hear him until I felt his presence, close, humming with something unfamiliar. I cut these for you, he said. In his hand, a bundle of white roses. My favorite. Graham never remembered. I took them carefully. Thank you. He didn't move. His voice dipped lower. I like seeing you happy. I'm trying. You're doing better. I turned to look at him. He was taller now. Lean, but strong. His face had sharpened since summer, no longer a boy's. His eyes searched mine like he was asking permission to see more than he should. Something tightened in my chest. Tyler, I said gently. You shouldn't look at me like that. Like what? You know what. He didn't answer, just turned and walked away. But the silence he left behind wrapped around my skin and wouldn't let go. That night I drank wine. Too much. I told myself I was unwinding, relaxing, healing. But the truth was simpler. I missed being seen. Graham was a ghost. He tiptoed around me, muttering apologies with his eyes, his mouth too cowardly to speak them aloud. He cooked when he thought I was too tired. He watched me from the stairs like a man expecting a gunshot. Good. He deserved to live in fear. But Tyler? He watched differently. That night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror in a robe I hadn't worn in years. Silk. Deep blue. Low-cut. It clung to me like memory. I didn't wear it for Graham. I didn't wear it for me. I didn't even realize I was wearing it for him, until I walked into the hallway and saw him standing there, shirtless, barefoot, just outside his room. His eyes fell on me, slowly, reverently, like a man seeing something holy and sinful all at once. He didn't speak. Neither did I. The silence stretched between us like a wire pulled too tight. I moved first, back into my room. Left the door open a crack. An invitation? A test? Even I didn't know. But he didn't come in. And I both hated and loved him for that. Days passed. Then one evening, I walked into the kitchen to find Graham yelling at him. You're not the man of this house. Watch your mouth. I am more of a man than you'll ever be. They stood inches apart, fire brimming in Tyler's eyes. Graham looked small. Shrinking. For the first time I saw fear on his face, real fear. Tyler turned to me when I entered, chest heaving. He grabbed me. I stepped between them. You touched my son? Graham threw up his hands. He threatened me. Good. Tyler stormed out. Graham went silent, and I followed the boy who shouldn't have had to protect me but did anyway. He was sitting on the roof, the one outside his window. I climbed out beside him, wrapping my shawl tighter. Stars pulsed overhead like tiny explosions in slow motion. Below us, the neighborhood hummed with the illusion of peace. You can't talk to him like that, I said softly. I'm not scared of him. You should be scared of becoming him. He looked at me then. His face was lit only by moonlight, but I could still see the battle behind his eyes. Rage fighting tenderness, hurt tangled with something darker. He hit you. I know. I saw you cry. I know. He turned to me fully. I'd never hurt you. I know that too. We sat in silence, legs dangling, hearts thudding in sync. Then he whispered, You look beautiful at night. I didn't answer. Because I couldn't lie. The next night, I dreamed of Sasha. She was in the garden, naked, digging her nails into the dirt, trying to bury my necklace. When I asked her why, she looked up with blood running from her eyes. Because you're mine. I woke up breathless, sweating, alone. Except, I wasn't. Because my door was open. And Tyler was in the hallway again. I could smell him. Something clean and warm. Like cedar and citrus. I listened to his breathing and closed my eyes. He didn't come in. But the thought of him wanting to, it wrapped around my mind like silk noose. 3 days later, I found a letter on my pillow. Typed. Folded. Anonymous. But the words told me exactly who wrote it. I remember when I was small and you used to sing in the kitchen. I remember the way you tucked your hair behind your ear when you were nervous. I remember watching you and wishing I could freeze time, so you'd never hurt again. I'm not your son anymore. I'm something else. And I love you in a way no one else ever has. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. I burned the letter. Not because I hated it. Because I didn't. And that terrified me more than anything Graham or Sasha ever did. The next week, Graham left town for a conference. I watched his suitcase disappear into the Uber's trunk and didn't wave. He didn't deserve a goodbye. That night, the house felt different. Lighter. Charged. I lit candles. I poured wine. I wore the robe again. Why? I wish I could say I don't know. But I do. I wanted to see if he'd come. I wanted to see if I'd stop him. He knocked. One soft tap. I didn't answer. I just opened the door. And when our eyes met, I saw the end of everything I once believed was right. The moment the door clicked shut, I knew we'd stepped past a line that would never disappear. Tyler stood just inside my room, barefoot, silent. His shoulders rising with every breath, chest carved from months of fury, loyalty, and unspoken need. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just stood there, waiting. I turned. Walked to the window. Rain smeared the glass in slow streaks, as if even the sky was unsure how to cleanse what it had witnessed. He moved behind me, close enough that I could feel his warmth bleeding through silk. Say something, I whispered. He didn't. He placed his hand on my shoulder instead. Gentle. Hesitant. It stayed there. The weight of it burned through fabric and skin deeper than bone. I should have told him to leave. I should have reminded him I was his mother. I should have screamed. But all I did was close my eyes and tilt my head toward him. That night didn't unfold in fire. It unraveled like thread. Slowly. Inevitably. 1,000 moments stitched together, one stolen breath at a time. There was no violence. No shock. Only heat. Tenderness. Hunger carved from years of being unseen. He touched me like he was rewriting history, like he could erase pain with his fingers, make sense of betrayal through skin. His lips traced every scar my heart carried. And I let him, because somewhere in the twisted wreckage of our lives, he was the only person who hadn't lied to me. The only one who looked at me and saw me. Not a wife. Not a mother. Not a woman broken. Just me. When I woke, he was gone. My sheets smelled like wild summer. My soul smelled like sin. And I didn't regret it. Not in the quiet hush of morning light, not in the sting of reality's return. Because regrets belong to the weak. And I had survived everything this house threw at me. I just hadn't expected to feel reborn in the process. That afternoon, Graham came home. He entered with a smile that died on his lips the second he saw me. Something in my posture, maybe. Something in my eyes. You look different. I said nothing. He followed me into the kitchen, watching my movements like a man trying to solve a riddle written in a language he used to know. Where's Tyler? Out. With who? I looked him in the eye. Someone who doesn't want to hurt me. The words cut. He bled guilt across his face. You don't know what she did to me. Sasha? He nodded. She used me. Filmed everything. She blackmailed half the people I work with. And yet you still slept with her. Repeatedly. Silence. You think you're the victim? I snapped. You think you're the one who lost something? I lost you, he whispered. No, I said coldly. You threw me away. And now you're mad someone else picked me up. His eyes narrowed. It landed. He didn't say it aloud, but he felt it. Knew it. Tyler. Something in the way I stood. Something in the way I defended him. A father's instinct flared. And just for a second, a flicker of horror lit his eyes. But I walked away before he could name it. Let him wonder. Let him drown. I found Tyler in the garden that evening, kneeling in dirt, pulling weeds like a man trying to repent for sins no one ever warned him about. I stood behind him. He didn't turn. I think he suspects. I know. What are we doing? I whispered. He stood slowly. Turn. Living. It wasn't a justification. It was a decision. Days turned. We didn't speak of that night. But it lived between us, in the pauses, in the glances, in the way my hand brushed his arm and lingered 1 second too long. Graham moved around us like a man afraid to wake sleeping dragons. He cooked more, drank less, tried to hold a version of his family that no longer existed. He even apologized one night. Sat across from me, eyes heavy. I miss when we were good. You miss when I didn't know. He flinched. But I'm glad you do, I continued. I'm glad I saw what you really are. And what's that? Replaceable. He didn't come home the next 2 nights. I didn't notice. Then it happened. A knock at the door. 2 officers. Plain clothes. Calm voices. Paperwork in hand. A report filed. A complaint made. An anonymous tip. About my son. About me. I froze. Graham appeared behind them, smug, arms folded. You brought the police? He shrugged. Just trying to protect my family. Tyler came downstairs. The officers asked him to come with them. 4 questions. He didn't argue. Didn't flinch. Didn't even look at me. He just turned to his father and said, "You shouldn't have done that." And then he walked away. I sat alone for hours after they left. The silence was violent. Graham poured a drink. He's sick, he muttered. He needs help. You don't get to say that. He's obsessed with you. No. He loves me. He's your son. I turned slowly. So were you, once. And you still betrayed me. He slapped the counter. This isn't the same. You're right, I said. He was gentle. You were cruel. Graham stormed upstairs. I didn't follow. I packed a bag. Waited until midnight. Then I drove to the station. Tyler sat in a bland room, head down, hands folded. When he looked up and saw me, something in his face cracked wide open. I walked in, sat across from him, reached across the table. He took my hand. I didn't say anything, he said. I know. I'd do it all again. I know that too. I squeezed his fingers. Hard. Like I was holding on to something the world was trying to take from me. And maybe I was. They let him go. There were no charges, no proof, no confession, just questions floating in stale air. We walked out side by side into the night. No words. None needed. We didn't go back to the house. Not that night. Not ever. We burned it. Not with matches. Not with gasoline. But by leaving. I took him with me. Changed our names. Bought a small place near the coast. A place with no memories, no ghosts, no bowls to break a crossbone. Some say healing is a return. They're wrong. Healing is an escape. And ours was beautiful. Even if it was built on ashes. Even if it would never be understood. Even if it broke every law written by blood or God. It was ours. And in the end, that was all we needed.